Hey guys, Torch Tales here. I'm your host, Frank Vargas, and this is the podcast dedicated to those people behind the welding industry. So I want to go around my travels and talk to everyone out there that actually has something to do in the welding industry, and are the people making those decisions out there that are helping the industry become what it is today. So here I have a great friend of mine, which I got to thank, Rafael Arvelo. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the invite.
Of course. And I got to say, I texted him and I said, hey, I have this great idea. Would you mind just giving me half hour of your time? And no hesitation, he just said, yes, I'm in. So, Rafael, I want to do this, not only talk about the welding industry, but I want to get to know the people behind the welding industry.
All right.
And so, first of all, I know some of the stuff that he might say today, but I want you guys to hear as well, because I think one of the things that and this is a plug for Rafael. So I met him a few years ago during the shows. You know, we find ourselves together in some of the shows as we travel across the U.S. and abroad. But one of the things that I admire about you is how friendly, how social, and how you always become the center of attention in a good way. I think you understand what it takes to be remembered, but you're not coming from a fake place. You know, I think this is who you are. And I'm not saying this just because. I'm saying this because I see the interactions between you and other customers, but especially your family. You know, your family is very involved, your son, your wife, you know, your sister. So that's great to see. And when I see that, I don't need anybody else to tell me who this person is. So, first of all, where is Rafael from?
So, after 2 minutes, me talking, you guys gonna know that my southern accent is not from North Carolina. You knew that was coming. I'm actually way south, not South Carolina. I'm originally from Venezuela, and I moved to the U.S. in 2010.
So, so you came from Venezuela straight in 2010 to the US?
Yes. So political situations
Okay.
down in Venezuela. My wife and I, we were started thinking about looking for another alternatives. And I was in a trade show in Brazil in 2009, and somebody approached to me and he said, "Hey, how's Venezuela?" And said, "Hey, Venezuela is good. We're doing good business. You see in our POs." And then he said, "No, no, no. How is Venezuela?" So, well, we're going through a lot of difficult situations. And then 6 hours later, at 11 p.m., I got a call. I said, "Hey, we need to meet in the lobby." And then he said, "Would you like to live in North Carolina?"
Wow. Talk about a fate and the cards being played for what it was to be your future from then on,
Yep.
right? And hey, guys, by the way, you know, on this show, there's no script. You know, it can go forward, backwards, up, and down. So the background noise that you hear is because we're in Philly for the GATA SMC, Spring Management Conference. And right now, Rafael had the great idea of coming and filming at the Liberty Bell Park. So the Liberty Bell, it's like right over there. And he's going to share some stories about that, you know, which is one of the reasons why we chose this place, or he chose this place. So here you are, 2010, Venezuela, here in the US. It was just you and your wife back then?
No, I actually already had two kids.
All right.
And the funny story behind this is that when this person was actually the president of Rigo, he came and asked, "Hey, would you like to live in North Carolina?" So it took me to 20 years back, maybe like 1990, 91. I did this training at Rigo. And one night, one of the managers told me, "Hey, Rafael, would you like to have dinner tonight? But let me drop something in my house." So we went to his house, and he lived in the cul-de-sac in Chapel Hill.
Okay.
3 homes, one cul-de-sac, and there was a pickup truck right in the middle of the cul-de-sac. So I said, "Why is that truck like right in the middle?" He said, "Oh, well, we all have like sport cars, convertibles. So whoever needs to go to Home Depot, we just get on the truck and buy our stuff.
So hold on, and I'm sorry. I'll apologize because I'll interrupt once I hear something that I want to understand more. So this truck was more like a neighborhood truck that anyone could use for whatever was needed.
For the three
Houses there.
for the three houses, correct. So I asked them, so each one of you has the copy of the key.
Yeah.
He said,
No, we keep it under the mat.
no, it's in the switch. So
Yeah, try to do that nowadays. Anyway, yeah,
well, of course, back in 1991, I still didn't believe it. So
right.
I got off the
Especially
car.
where we come from, right?
Absolutely. So, where we come from, we used to have electrical switch, gas switch, alarms, bars.
Yeah,
So there's no way that the switch was going to be that
on
the
a
key was gonna
functional
switch.
truck.
So I got on the truck, and I was like looking for the key, and the key was in the switch. But that was not enough for me. I turned on the truck, put reverse, put drive, put parking, turned off the truck, and I said, wow, one day I would like to live in North Carolina.
So
20 years later,
right.
he said, would you like to live in North Carolina? So what do you think it came into my mind? The pickup truck.
That's funny and amazing you mentioned that because we spent a day or so together so far in this trip, and we were talking about manifestation, and you brought it up, about positive thinking and manifesting things that we want in our lives, and I can totally see, because of the way you are, things happening in that same mode. So I don't know if you ever thought about back then that, or you already knew what manifestation was, but here you are, and it came to reality.
It
So
did.
so
It did.
now, how old were your kids when you guys came to the States? 2010.
So my son Nico, he was 9 years old. My daughter Natalia, she was 4 years old.
And I'm assuming they didn't speak the language.
They did not, just a little bit, but
Gotcha.
no, definitely not. So we moved here, and we lived in a apartment for 6 months,
Okay.
and then I was able to buy a nice house. Guess where? In a cul-de-sac. So one day I was coming back from work, and I could not drive into the cul-de-sac because it was a mess. Bikes, basketballs, baseballs, scooters, Nico, Natalia, all the friends, Ava, which is now a marketing person at Equigas, they were all like running and, living dolls. I mean,
Right.
it was a disaster.
You're like, this is not the same one I remember.
So, guess what I did? I got off the car. I started filming. Now, Frank, what do you think I was filming?
The mess, or the kids having fun. I don't know.
I was filming safety, liberty, and freedom. No gates, no guards, no bodyguards.
Oh, I just got goosebumps. It's amazing that I guess you felt that way because of where you came from.
Yep.
And the restrictions that we're all here in this country for the opportunities that it brings us, that it gives us, and we are proof of that. So again, this is the greatest country in the world, and we are so thankful. But I think part of what coming from another place does is that we get to compare, and that's why we are even more grateful for those things, because we've seen black and white, and it gives us that opportunity to say wow. And you heard it. It's so I was thinking about completely something else, and look at what you were filming.
So, this little things, watching kids playing, sitting here in this bench, in the outside, a lot of people take it for granted,
I agree.
and we don't. My family doesn't take it for granted. One of the things, Frank, I get up and remember we were talking about the book Og Mandino,
Yes.
the greatest salesman in the world. And I read that book when I was 18 years old and changed my life. So I was, after I read the book, I woke up and start thanking God for, hey, another day. And I'm taking a shower, warm water, and I'm thinking that moment, I'm
A lot of
thanking.
people don't have this.
Yes, a lot of people don't even have water.
Yeah. Not forget
So,
hot water.
yes,
Water.
water,
Yeah.
exactly. So, all those little things that this great country has, and everybody just take it for granted. They always think that the grass is greener
On the other
on the
side.
other
It's
side.
not. There's not even grass, guys. There's no
It-
grass.
that's exactly.
So I love that story, because you're the story of millions and millions of immigrants, that come in here, put the hard work, and get something in return. It's like any business, right? ROI, return on investment. So, you pay your taxes, you pay your dues, you do things the right way, and life has a way of paying that back. So now you are in North Carolina, new family, well, not new family, but new settings, new surroundings. You are working for, I'm assuming, Rigo, because they were the ones that said, hey, would you move here? And but before Rigo, before the welding industry as you know it, what did you do before? And did you ever think that you were going to be in the welding industry as you are now?
um, I got in this industry doing a favor. So, a very young age, I started working. I delivered newspaper in Findlay, Ohio, when I was 13 years old.
So hold
Uh,
on, you were born in Venezuela, but you lived here before,
I
and
lived
then back to Venezuela.
correct.
Okay,
So,
all right,
my mother came to study at Findlay College back in the
back
days,
in the day.
um, 1981, and so I did my junior and part of my high school in Ohio.
All right.
Then that's where I learned my little English that I know right now. And then moved back to Venezuela. Grew up, um, started working in Hewlett Packard,
Okay.
HP,
All right.
and then I worked there for 1 year, moved myself up, and then when they realized that I didn't even had college, and then some situation came in Venezuela, like in 1989, it was a big strike, and then they let a lot of people go. I was in that list, but the following week I started working in McKinsey and Company, the consultant, and that was kind of my MBA. And
For
then
for the business side of
for the
things.
business side of things. Then my father, Antonio Arvelo, he needed some help with some Americans that were coming down here, that coming to Venezuela, and he needed a translator. So I did the translation for 1 day, and 33 years later, here am I.
So so there you are working at Rigo in North Carolina, representing the company, and there was a transition from Rigo to now Equigas, which is what Rafael it's so proud of, and that's kind of your baby. So
That is my baby.
there you go. I didn't want to say it. I wanted him to say it, right? It doesn't sound good if I say it. Um, so what would you say the biggest transition was on working for someone and knowing that now you are responsible for the whole shebang?
You know, when I was brought here by Rigo, it was kind of the good old boys company. Then it got sold to a private equity, then to a second private equity, and then I think I was kind of done with the private equities. So I did work for them for 7 years. I still wanted to be part of the Rigo family, so I told them, hey, there's a weakness in the distribution side in the U.S. and let me become a Rigo distributor for the whole U.S. And actually, I had a big support from them, and started from zero. Not one customer, not one employee, not one computer, not nothing.
You know what I hear what I hear you say, it's that it's what we all know that sometimes we forget. No one makes it alone, and we always need a hand. And sometimes it's not money. Sometimes it's not something physical. Sometimes it's just the support. But we are all here because someone believed in us and someone said, hey, sure, I trust you, let's go for it, let's make it happen. And here you are, and that's kind of like the same thing I see you doing with your people, because the support and the mentorship you give them, you can see it coming right back from them everywhere I see them, and that's all leadership. And I'm not kissing your ass or anything, because you just see it in the people that work for Rafael. So how many employees do you guys have now?
I think right now for in the U.S. we're 12.
12.
Uh,
And it's US meaning North Carolina, or
Yes, so we have three divisions. We
okay.
have Equigas in North Carolina. We take care of all North America, U.S. and Canada, and then we have another location in Miami, Florida, and that's Equigas International.
It's the same company, or is separate owners, separate and
They're different companies, same family,
okay, gotcha.
same group,
Okay,
same owners.
all right,
And then from Equigas International, we take care of all Latin America, Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. And
gotcha.
then we have we still have the original location at Equigas Venezuela.
So for those 2, 3 people that might be watching this eventually, aside from us too, and those that might not know what Equigas is, what is Equigas?
So we are the one-stop shop for the gas industry.
Okay.
We are a gas equipment distributor, and we are very well known because we answer the phone and we ship the same day. Just back to the basics. I'm not that smart.
Who thought of that, right? It's right. What a business
Yeah.
mode. And so now you've been under running Equigas for how many years?
Last week it was a sixth anniversary.
6.
Yep. And
See, I would have pegged it for even longer, just because of the way you guys go about yourselves.
we hear that we just we've been 2 years at this buying group called AIWD, only 2 years, and people cannot believe we've been there for 2 years because they all think
It
like
feels right.
they feel like we've been there for 10, 15 years.
But again, it goes back because of the way you are. People just feel so comfortable, and they think I've known you for way longer than just 2 years, right?
Some of us true, yes.
And so now that you mentioned a buying group versus going and doing the legwork, one by one, because these, I think this is one of the things that I have my opinions about this, and of course you'll have yours. But do you believe in the buying groups? Is the purpose behind the buying groups more because we get to attack everyone, for lack of a better word, in one setting, or what are more of the benefits that you see?
I think, Frank, that this is a win-win situation for the vendors. Like you said, we have all our customers in one place, and depending on the buying group, one has more benefits than others for the vendors and for the members or gas distributor, welding distributors. So for them, they have the benefit that they'll find most everything they need in one place for a better price. Try to be more competitive, like the big companies
Yeah.
are, and then they get their rebate at the end of the year.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so, with as much travel as you do, how do you work the whole family work balance? Does your wife ever say, really, you're leaving again? Like, do you have to? Can you send anybody else?
Well, actually, right now it's much better after we opened Equigas because when I was with Rigo, I was everywhere but the U.S. I was, Dubai, China, Europe, Brazil, Mexico, California. You know, uh, California, it is U.S., but
That's a debate, but whatever. That's another topic. Yeah.
And then, but yeah, it was actually it was tough for my wife, because being out and she
Two
was
small kids, you know.
having two small kids, and but for her, everybody can say, well, everybody does that. But where we come from, it was different. So, uh, you know, back in Venezuela, we had one maid that lived in the house. She was in charge of the whole thing. And then, we come to the US and pretty much have no help. So for her was a big, big change.
You know, I I want you to understand that when he said, they had a maid in Venezuela. This is very typical in Latin countries, and it doesn't mean that you are just full of money. Any middle class can afford a maid that almost becomes a nanny, and they come in and pretty much you love them as much as anyone in the family. Because that was my case, and every time I tell that same thing, people are like,
Yep.
oh, you guys were just, you know, washing in money. I'm like, no,
No.
that's not it. It was
Yeah.
just part of the culture here. Good luck, trying to do that. It'll cost you a fortune. So we all have to start from scratch and do everything ourselves.
She was the boss of the house, let me tell you.
Yeah, right. So the kids will respect them even more than the parents. That's usually that was my case.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yep. So now here you are, 6 years later, and less traveling. I guess spending more quality time with the family, picking and choosing where you go, even though you go everywhere because you're the face. So one of the things that I admire about you is that you understand that branding is not just the actual logo, but it's the face, it's the person. And there's nowhere he goes where he doesn't have the Equigas. I mean, from socks to shoes to shirts to underwear, you name it. This guy is like a logo walking around. But one of the other things you do, which I love to see, is that even though we are Generation X, you believe in social media for getting to be known out there. Like, you understand the power of social media and the technology out there, because we go to a lot of meetings where they always talk about the social gap and the differential, the different way of thinking
With millennials
with
and Gen
millennials and
Zs.
and everything else. But my take, it's always been, we created them, we gave them everything they have, but now we're complaining about what we created, and we are not looking for ways to communicate with them, even though we're supposed to be the smart ones, right? So, do you really believe in that whole gap, and is it as bad as they make it sound to be?
On the social media and ages.
On our industry, we have, they always say there's a 500,000 welders, retiring, and owners selling, to second, third generations, and they don't find either family members that want to take over, or just that next generation that is willing to do the same kind of work, hard work that they used to do. So I think, we're not comparing apples to apples. I think
Correct.
we're comparing apples to oranges, apples to bananas. So do you feel the same way?
Yes, so it is a gap, and we see it every day. As you know, we're kind of before the welding side of the business, we're more on the gas side of the business. Um, so a lot of the technicians that we work with nationwide, Frank, I can tell you, they're I think the average is between 55 to 65 years old.
Wow.
And yes, it is a big gap.
So it is a problem.
It is. However, GADA, the Gases and Welding Distributors Association, CGA, Compressed Gas Association, these two,
AWS, American Welding Society, all these.
yes, they have these committees that are the YEP, the Young and Emerging Professionals, and they are doing an amazing, amazing job. You see all these people between 20 up to 45 years old.
Oh, really? So, hey, I can still be in it. 45 in the house.
I don't know about you, Frank, but I still walk into the YEP because they're fun. I think my mind still still think I'm 20,
There you go.
but my body says I'm 60.
I feel you. I feel you. Yep. So that's that's awesome to hear. That there is a future and there's people doing their due diligence to make sure that we are well taken care of and the industry continues, which I think it will be. Rafael, I got nothing to but good things to say about you. Thank you for taking the time and joining me in this conversation of this crazy idea that I have. Hopefully, I get to learn so much about you guys in the industry and everyone else that will say yes to sitting down with me. So please do. Hey, I got Rafael. Everybody else got to say yes, right? Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your personality because people like you are needed in the industry. And like you said, you feel young. You feel that you still have a lot to bring to the table, which I believe that as well. And thank you. And anything else you want to say?
Frank, I think what I always tell the people is just put a lot of energy in what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing immediately, just change it because we were talking about it. Life's short. You spend so much time at work, so if you don't love it, you gotta change it. And but sometimes it's not that you probably it's probably the right place, but you're not putting the right energy into it. And with the right energy, it doesn't matter where it is, if it's in Ohio or North Carolina or Minnesota, California, Miami, or Mexico, China, Europe. You put the right energy into it, and you're gonna get things done. Manifest what you want, and it'll happen. Manifest what you want. Put a plan of actions. It'll happen.
I couldn't have said it better. So on that note, thank you guys for watching. Thank you again, Rafael.
Wish you all the best and all the success with this new idea and
Thank you.
project.
Thank you, brother. Guys, see you on the next one somewhere else. Gotcha.